The massive crystalline chamber floated in the void between stars, its transparent walls reflecting the light of distant galaxies. Inside, representatives from 12 different alien species sat around a circular table that seemed to be made of pure energy. This was the Hegemony Council, the governing body that had ruled over 300 worlds for the past 1,000 years. Ambassador Kralvex of the Zephyrian Empire tapped his six-fingered hand against the table's surface, creating small ripples of blue light. His large black eyes studied the holographic display that showed a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star. The planet looked peaceful from space, with white clouds swirling over green and brown continents. Sol 3 announced the mechanical voice of the survey computer. Third planet from the local star, inhabited by carbon-based life forms. Population approximately 8 billion. Technology level classified as primitive. The other council members leaned forward with interest. New worlds meant new resources, new slaves, and new territory to add to their vast empire. But first they needed to understand what they were dealing with. "Show us their military capabilities," ordered General Vexera, her scaled skin gleaming, purple under the chamber's lights. She commanded the Hegemony's war fleets and had conquered 47 worlds in her long career. The hologram changed to show various scenes from Earth. Primitive aircraft moved slowly through the atmosphere. Large ships floated on the planet's oceans, powered by what appeared to be simple combustion engines. Most amusing of all were the rocket ships that barely managed to reach their own moon, leaving trails of fire and smoke behind them. Pathetic, laughed Commander Velenok, whose species had mastered faster-than-light travel 3,000 years ago. They still burn chemicals to achieve flight. Their fastest ships would take decades to reach another star. The display showed more details about human technology. Nuclear weapons that seemed powerful to the humans but were no more dangerous than firecrackers compared to Hegemony plasma cannons. Computer systems that were massive and slow compared to alien quantum processors. Communication networks that relied on electromagnetic waves instead of instant quantum entanglement. "Look at their political structure," said Ambassador Kextala, pointing at the hologram with one of her tentacles. "They're divided into nearly 200 separate nations. They spend more time fighting each other than advancing their technology." The display showed scenes of human wars throughout history, ancient battles with swords and spears, more recent conflicts with chemical explosives and metal projectiles. The aliens watched with the same expression humans might have while observing. Ants fighting over a sugar cube. "Fascinating," mused Kralvex. "They've had the ability to destroy their own planet for decades, yet they continue to exist. Most species either achieve peace or destroy themselves within a few generations of developing nuclear weapons." "Lucky for us," General Dexara said with a sharp smile. "Their survival means we can harvest their world and its population. Planet appears to have significant mineral wealth, and the natives will make adequate workers once they're properly controlled." The computer continued its report. Human lifespan, approximately 70 to 80 local years. Physical strength below galactic average. No evidence of psychic abilities. No defensive installations detected beyond planetary atmosphere. Recommendation: Standard Subjugation Protocol. The council members nodded in agreement. This was exactly the kind of easy conquest they preferred. Rich worlds with primitive defenders who couldn't possibly threaten their advanced technology. How many ships do we need? For a species this backward? Vexera studied the data. 200 vessels should be more than sufficient. Their most advanced weapons can't even penetrate basic energy shields. We could probably conquer them with 50 ships, but I prefer to be thorough. "Proved," declared Kralvex. "General Vexara will lead the subjugation fleet. Standard occupation procedures. Eliminate military resistance, enslave the population, and begin resource extraction within 1 local year." As the council members discussed the details of Earth's conquest, none of them noticed the small, human-built probe that had been quietly observing their meeting from the shadows of a nearby asteroid. The probe's advanced sensors recorded every word, every image, and every tactical detail, deep beneath the mountains of Colorado. Admiral Park Taman watched the alien council through the probe's cameras. His weathered face remained calm, but his fingers drummed steadily against his desk. Around him, dozens of military officers and scientists monitored screens showing similar scenes from across the galaxy. "How long until they arrive?" asked Colonel Kim Jae-ho, standing at the Admiral's shoulder. "Their fastest ships will reach the outer system in approximately 4 months," replied Dr. Lee Min-young, the chief scientist of Project Darkwatch. "That gives us enough time to complete the final preparations." Admiral Park nodded slowly. For 30 years, humanity had been preparing for this moment. Ever since the first radio telescopes detected artificial signals from deep space, Earth's greatest minds had been working on a single question: what would happen when the aliens finally came? The answer was Project Darkwatch, humanity's most classified military program. While the aliens saw a primitive world with crude technology, they were actually looking at the most elaborate trap in human history. "Send the activation signal," Park ordered quietly. "All units, all stations. Execute Protocol 7. Across the solar system, hidden installations began to wake up. The real war was about to begin. 4 months later, the Hegemony War Fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. 200 massive ships appeared in perfect formation, their dark holes blocking out the light of distant stars. Each vessel was longer than a human city and packed with enough firepower to destroy entire continents. Admiral Zefkala stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the primitive solar system through the main viewing screen. The third planet from the star looked just as helpless as the intelligence reports had promised. A few small space stations orbited the world, along with some mining operations in the asteroid belt. Nothing that could threaten his mighty fleet. "Begin. Standard occupation protocol," he ordered his crew. "Send surrender demands to all major population centers. Give them 1 hour to respond." The communications officer, a young Trilaxian with bright green skin, worked at his station for several minutes. "Sir, we're having trouble with their communication systems. Their technology is so primitive that our translators need time to decode their languages." "How long?" Zefkala asked impatiently. "Perhaps 2 hours, sir. Maybe 3. The Admiral waved a dismissive hand. "Take your time. Those primitives aren't going anywhere." While the aliens worked on their translation systems, something unexpected was happening throughout the solar system. Well, the mining stations and the asteroid belt were moving. What had appeared to be simple rock-gathering operations were actually mobile weapons platforms. Their true nature, hidden beneath layers of fake equipment and debris. Captain Juan Sora sat in the command center of Mining Station 7, watching her tactical display as dozens of similar stations maneuvered into attack positions. The station's outer shell looked like a collection of industrial equipment, but inside was one of the most advanced warships humanity had ever built. "All stations report ready," she announced into her headset, awaiting orders from Earth Command. On the lunar surface, Major Hun-Gyeon checked her own systems. What the aliens had identified as a research facility was actually a massive weapons platform, its railguns hidden beneath fake solar panels and communication dishes. Similar installations dotted the moon's surface, all of them invisible to the alien sensors. "Darkwatch Command, this is Luna Base," she reported. "All batteries charged and ready." Back on Earth, Admiral Park Taman watched the alien fleet through his hidden cameras. The enemy ships were spreading out across the outer system, clearly expecting an easy victory. It was time to show them how wrong they were. "All units, this is Admiral Park," he announced on the secure channel. "The aliens have made their choice. Show them what happens when you threaten Earth. Weapons free." The first sign of trouble came when the aliens finally managed to establish communication with Earth. Instead of the panicked surrender messages they expected, they received a single transmission from a human in military uniform. "Attention, alien vessels," said Admiral Lee Hyanwoo from the bridge of what appeared to be a primitive spacecraft.
Ow.
"This is Admiral Lee of the Terran Defense Force. You have entered our space without permission. You have exactly 60 seconds to leave our system, or we will consider you hostile." The bridge of the alien flagship erupted in laughter. The idea of these primitives threatening the mighty Hegemony fleet was beyond ridiculous. Their entire planet couldn't build a single ship that could match the smallest vessel in the alien formation. Musing, Admiral Zefkala replied, "Surrender immediately, and we might allow some of your people to live as slaves." Lee's expression didn't change. "You were warned, all units, weapons free. Show them what Earth hospitality looks like." The asteroid belt exploded into action. What the aliens had dismissed as harmless mining equipment suddenly revealed massive weapons that fired solid metal projectiles at incredible speeds. The hegemony ship's energy shields were designed to stop plasma beams and laser weapons. But they were useless against simple chunks of metal traveling at nearly the speed of light. 3 alien dreadnoughts simply vanished in explosions of fire and metal. Their advanced armor, capable of withstanding the most powerful energy weapons in the galaxy, was torn apart by what amounted to very fast rocks. "Impossible," screamed Admiral Zefkala as his ship shook under multiple impacts. "They're primitives. They can't have weapons like this." But the surprises were just beginning. From the lunar surface, Captain Juan Sora's railguns opened fire, sending streams of metal projectiles across space. Each shot was carefully aimed at the aliens' engine systems, leaving their ships unable to escape. The aliens discovered that humans didn't fight like other species. Where civilized races used elegant energy weapons and sophisticated tactics, humans used brute force and trickery. Their weapons were crude but devastatingly effective. "Sir," the communications officer shouted over the sound of alarms, "we're receiving multiple transmissions from the human fleet." "What fleet?" Zefkala demanded. "They don't have a fleet." But they did. As the battle raged, more human ships emerged from hiding places throughout the solar system. They had been disguised as space debris, hidden in the shadows of moons, and camouflaged among the asteroids. Each one was smaller than the alien vessels, but they moved faster and hit harder than anything the hegemony had ever faced. Captain Bejunesios. Destroyer emerged from behind Earth's moon at full speed, its hull glowing red-hot from the engine's heat. Instead of firing weapons, he did something that no civilized species would ever consider. He rammed his ship directly into the alien flagship's bridge. The last thing Admiral Zefkala heard was a human voice broadcasting across all frequencies. "Welcome to Earth, you bastards." The surviving alien ships regrouped near Jupiter, their formations broken and their confidence shattered. Commander Vekmer had taken control of the fleet after Admiral Zefkala's death, but he stared at his tactical display with growing horror. In less than 2 hours, the humans had destroyed 67 ships and damaged dozens more. "How is this possible?" he asked his remaining officers. "Our intelligence said they were primitives. They barely have space travel," his tactical officer, a nervous Catherian with trembling hands, studied the battle reports. "Sir, their weapons are ... unusual. They're using kinetic projectiles, nuclear warheads, and chemical explosives. Nothing advanced but delivered with precision we didn't expect." "Chemical explosives?" The smirk couldn't hide his disbelief. "They're attacking us with fireworks and rocks. Very fast rocks, sir. And their targeting systems are somehow predicting our movements." What the aliens didn't understand was that humanity had spent decades studying their tactics. Every intercepted communication, every observed battle. Every piece of alien technology that had been secretly recovered had been analyzed by Earth's best military minds. The humans knew exactly how the hegemony fought. But the aliens knew nothing about human warfare. On Mars, Major Han Guion watched the alien fleet through her telescopes. The red planet's surface was covered with what appeared to be terraforming equipment, but the machinery was actually manufacturing ammunition and weapons. For 30 years, Mars had been Earth's secret weapons factory. Hostile formation moving toward inner system, she reported to Earth Command. "They're trying to get close enough to bombard the planet. Not if we can help it," replied Colonel Kim Jae-ho from his command center hidden deep beneath the Antarctic ice. "All Mars batteries. Prepare for long-range engagement." The aliens thought they were safe at their current distance, but they were about to learn another lesson about human warfare. The humans had placed weapons platforms along the natural paths that ships used to travel between planets. What looked like empty space was actually a carefully designed killing field. The first salvo came from hidden platforms near the asteroid belt. Massive railguns fired streams of metal projectiles that crossed the solar system in minutes. The alien sensors detected the incoming fire, but their ships were too large and slow to dodge effectively. "Evasive maneuvers, then!" Mer shouted, but it was too late. The human projectiles tore through his formation like bullets through paper. 6 more ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light, but the worst was yet to come. As the battle continued, the humans began doing something that no civilized species had ever attempted. They were learning from the enemy weapons in real time. Captain Yang Minho worked frantically in the engineering section of his ship, studying pieces of alien technology that had been recovered from the wreckage. His team had been working for only 3 hours, but they had already figured out how the enemy's plasma cannons worked. "Their power systems are actually less efficient than our fusion reactors," he reported excitedly, "and their targeting computers can't handle random flight patterns. We can modify our ships to use their own weapons against them." Within 6 hours, human ships were flying into battle equipped with captured alien weapons. But the humans had made improvements that the original designers never considered. They removed safety systems, increased power output, and modified the targeting software to be more aggressive. Lieutenant Colonel Park Soo-jin piloted her fighter into the heart of the alien formation, her ship now armed with a plasma cannon that fired twice as fast as the original design. "This is much better," she reported as she destroyed 2 enemy fighters. "Why do they put so many safety features on their weapons?" The answer was simple. The aliens were used to fighting civilized wars with rules and limitations. They had safety systems to prevent accidents, protocols to avoid unnecessary damage, and restrictions to minimize casualties. The humans removed all of these limitations and turned every weapon into a tool of maximum destruction. Commander Thekmer watched in growing terror as his fleet was systematically destroyed by enemies, who fought like wild animals. The humans didn't follow any of the accepted rules of space combat. They used suicide attacks, set traps, and turned their own disadvantages into weapons. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet." The main screen showed Admiral Lee Hyenwoo standing on the bridge of his command ship. Behind him, the humans were celebrating their victories with loud cheers and laughter. "They seem to be enjoying the battle," Commander Thechmer Lee said politely. "I have an offer for you. Surrender now, and we'll treat your survivors according to our Geneva Conventions. Continue fighting, and we'll treat you according to human nature." "What does that mean?" Thekmer asked, though he was afraid to hear the answer. Lee's smile was cold and dangerous. "It means we'll hunt down every single one of your ships and turn them into scrap metal. We'll study your technology, improve it, and use it against your homeworlds. We'll make sure that every species in the galaxy knows what happens when you attack Earth." The transmission ended, leaving Thekmer staring at a blank screen. Around him, his officers waited for orders, but he had no idea what to do. They were facing an enemy that didn't fight like any civilized species. The humans were creative, ruthless, and completely unpredictable. "Send a message to the Hegemony Council," he said quietly. "Tell them we need reinforcements. We'll tell them that humans are not what we expected." The reply came 12 hours later. "Reinforcements denied. Complete your mission with current forces." Thekmer realized that he and his remaining ships were trapped in a solar system with a species that treated warfare like a deadly game, and the humans were winning. The battle had completely changed. What remained of the alien fleet was scattered. Across the outer solar system, hiding among the moons of Jupiter and Saturn like frightened animals, the mighty Hegemony war force that had arrived with such confidence was now being hunted by human ships that seemed to appear from nowhere. Captain Choi Woo-jin moved his ship slowly through the debris field that had once been the alien battle. Line, his vessel had started the war as a simple cargo hauler, but now it bristled with captured alien weapons that his engineering team had modified with typical human creativity. The plasma cannons fired faster, the shields were stronger, and the engines had been pushed far beyond their original safety limits. Contact bearing 270 reported his sensor operator, a young woman named Kim Haijin, single hostile, trying to hide behind that broken asteroid. Wu Jin studied his display. The alien ship was a Catherian cruiser, badly damaged and clearly trying to avoid detection. Its crew was probably hoping the humans would pass by without noticing them. They were wrong, poor bastards, Wu Jin muttered. They still don't understand what they're dealing with. The alien vessel was commanded by Captain Valanax, who had been hiding in the asteroid field for 6 hours. His ship was nearly out of power, his weapons were offline, and half his crew was dead or wounded. He watched his sensors with growing despair as human ships moved through the debris like wolves hunting prey. "Sir," whispered his communications officer, "the humans are broadcasting a message." The transmission was simple and direct, spoken in perfect Catherian. "Surrender now, and you will be treated according to the Geneva Conventions. Continue hiding, and you will be treated according to human nature." Valanax had studied human history. During the long journey to Earth, he knew what human nature meant in warfare. These creatures had spent thousands of years perfecting the art of killing each other with increasingly creative methods. They were predators who had climbed to the top of their planet's food chain by being more violent and adaptable than anything else that lived there. "Signal our surrender," he ordered quietly. "Better to be prisoners than to be hunted." Throughout the solar system, similar scenes were playing out. Human ships moved through space like sharks, systematically hunting down every alien vessel they could find. The hunters had become the hunted, and the hegemony forces were learning what it felt like to be prey. Admiral Li Haiyanwu coordinated the hunt from his command ship, watching as his forces cornered the remaining alien vessels one by one. Humans had discovered something important about their enemies. The hegemony was used to fighting civilized species who followed predictable patterns and honored ancient rules of warfare. They had never faced a species that treated every battle like a problem to solve through overwhelming violence and creativity. "Admiral," reported Lieutenant Commander Naim Hiren, "we've captured 17 alien ships in the past 4 hours. Survivors are requesting terms for surrender." "Good," Lee replied. "But keep hunting. I want every single enemy vessel accounted for. We can't let any of them escape to report back to their masters." The few remaining alien ships were learning what it meant to be hunted by humans. Captain Ro Minky's destroyer had been tracking a damaged alien battleship for 3 hours, staying just outside sensor range, while his crew prepared for the final attack. The enemy ship was trying to reach the edge of the solar system, hoping to escape into hyperspace. "Not today," Minky said, as he ordered his ship to full speed. "Nobody leaves until we say they can leave." The alien battleship detected the approaching human vessel and tried to fight back, but its weapons were no match for the modified human systems. Minky's ship tore through the aliens' defenses like a knife through paper, leaving the enemy vessel dead in space. This is the human warship Inchin Minky broadcast on all frequencies. You are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender immediately, or we will board your ship and take it by force. The aliens chose to surrender. By the end of the day, the great hegemony fleet had been reduced to a handful of captured vessels and scattered debris. The survivors sat in human prison ships, staring at their captors with a mixture of fear and disbelief. These were supposed to be primitive creatures who barely understood space travel. Yet they had defeated the most powerful military force in the galaxy. Commander Vekmer found himself sitting in the brig of Admiral Lee's flagship, his uniform torn and his pride shattered. The human admiral had come to speak with him personally, treating him with the same polite respect that civilized species showed to defeated enemies. "You fought bravely," Lee said, settling into a chair across from the alien commander. "But you made a critical mistake. You assumed we were primitives because we hadn't left our star system. You didn't consider that maybe we hadn't left because we were too busy preparing for visitors." "What do you want from us?" Vekmer asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Lee's expression became serious, simple. "Complete withdrawal from human space. Reparations for the damage you've caused. And full diplomatic recognition of Earth as a sovereign power." He leaned forward. "You came here thinking you were the apex predators of the galaxy. You discovered that humans are the species that hunted everything else on their planet to extinction. Then turn that same instinct toward the stars. The message was clear. Humanity had announced its arrival in the galactic community, and the announcement was written in fire and steel across the wreckage of the Hegemony fleet. 6 months after the failed invasion, the Great Hegemony Council Chamber buzzed with nervous energy. The massive crystalline structure that had once hosted confident discussions about conquering primitive worlds now felt different. The alien representatives who had ruled over 300 planets for 1,000 years were about to meet with the species they had tried to destroy. Ambassador Otejo walked into the chamber with calm confidence, his black diplomatic uniform, a stark contrast to the colorful robes and exotic appearance of the alien council members. Behind him, Admiral Park Taman and Colonel Kim Jae-ho flanked the human delegation, their military bearing a quiet reminder of what had happened to the last aliens who underestimated Earth. The chamber fell silent as the humans took their seats at the council table. These were the same creatures the aliens had dismissed as barely intelligent mammals just months ago. Now they sat as equals among the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Honored council members, O began, his voice carrying clearly through the universal translation systems. We come here not as conquerors, but as neighbors. The soul accords that we present today offer a new way forward for all species in the galaxy. The document that appeared on the Council's holographic displays was unlike anything they had seen before. Instead of the usual terms of surrender that victorious species typically demanded, the humans were proposing a completely new system of galactic governance based on equality and mutual respect. Veltar, the Catherian commander who had originally recommended Earth for conquest, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. His species had been the first to suggest that humans were primitive and helpless. Now he was forced to look at beings who had destroyed his fleet with weapons made from rocks and fire. Your military response to our presence was unexpected, he said carefully. We had no indication that your species possessed such capabilities. Admiral Park's smile was thin but not unkind. That was entirely on purpose. We've been monitoring your communications for decades. We knew you were out there watching us, judging us, and we knew that eventually someone would decide we looked like easy prey. But why? Asked Ambassador Kixanala, her tentacles writhing. With confusion? Why go to such lengths to hide your true capabilities? Why not simply join the galactic community as equals? Colonel Kim answered with the blunt honesty that had become typical of human diplomacy. Because we studied your history. We looked at what happened to the last 50 species that tried to join your community peacefully. Half of them became slaves. The other half became extinct. We decided we preferred a different approach. The alien council members exchanged uncomfortable glances. The humans were right, of course. The hegemony had built its power by conquering weaker species and absorbing their resources. It was a system that had worked for millennia, but now they were faced with a species that refused to play by those rules. The Soul Accords, continued, established new principles for interstellar relations. No species may attack another without provocation. No species may claim ownership of star systems inhabited by intelligent life. And all species have the right to defend themselves using whatever means they consider necessary. The last point made several council members wince. Humans had demonstrated exactly what whatever means necessary looked like when applied to interstellar warfare. And if some species refused to accept these accords, asked General Dexera, her purple scales darkening with anger. Admiral Park leaned forward slightly. Then they'll discover what happened to your invasion fleet. We don't seek to conquer anyone, but we will defend ourselves and our allies with the same determination that brought us to the stars. The negotiations continued for hours, but the outcome was never really in doubt. The Hegemony Council, faced with the choice between accommodation and annihilation, chose wisely. The Soul Accords were signed unanimously, establishing Earth as a sovereign power in humanity, as a recognized member of the galactic community, as the human delegation prepared to leave. Delivered one final message that would be remembered throughout the galaxy for generations to come. We don't want to rule over you, he said, looking directly at each council member. We want to explore alongside you, to learn from you, and to share what we've learned. But understand this clearly. We survived our own wars, our own mistakes, and our own worst impulses. We became stronger through conflict, smarter through adversity, and more united through struggle. Anyone who threatens that unity will discover why we're the only species on our planet that hunts in organized groups. The chamber remained silent as the humans departed, leaving behind a galaxy that would never again judge a species by its apparent primitiveness. 3 days later, first human exploration vessels launched from Earth's hidden shipyards, their hulls bearing a simple message in dozens of languages. Humanity has arrived. Come in peace, but we're prepared for war. Lieutenant Commander Nam Hyrin stood on the bridge of the exploration ship Sol, watching the stars grow brighter as they left the solar system behind. Her ship was one of 12 vessels heading toward different parts of the galaxy, each one carrying diplomats, scientists, and enough firepower to level a small moon. Course laid in for the Andromeda sector, reported her navigation officer. Excellent, Hyrin replied. Let's go introduce ourselves to the neighbors. And remember, we're ambassadors first. But if anyone decides to test us, she smiled at the thought. Well, they'll learn why humans are the species that turned warfare into an art form. The galaxy was about to become a much more interesting place.